I am really passionate about the topic of resiliency. Hold on. Yeah, there we go. Thank you. And I'm really excited to talk to you guys tonight. Life can throw a lot of challenges at us, and there are few traits more important than resiliency. And I hope that I'll be able to provide you with a few tools to be able to use if you find yourself struggling. Struggling is a part of life, so it's best to be prepared. So 3 things that I'd really like you guys to be able to take away from this is, 1, we have the power over our perception. 2, we can't always control our first thought, but we can control the second. And the other thing is, let's turn that word impossible into I'm possible. So when I saw the call for speakers on the topic of resiliency, I said, I really need to be a part of this event. As an educator, therapist, mom, I feel as though I'm always constantly acting as the bumpers on the bowling lane of life, and I'm doing the best I can to help guide individuals, whether it's family, students, clients, through life, avoiding the proverbial gutter ball. So when my speech was accepted, I was told it's good, but you need to add something innovative and supported by research. And I was like, that's it, I'm out. Time to give up. What can I add to this topic that's innovative? Who am I and what innovative ideas do I have? I'm certainly not unique or special. At that same moment is when I realized I really had to press forward, because this is a condition that really afflicts everyone. If we let them, our minds will always trick us. They're going to tell us reasons we can't accomplish something. So nearly everyone struggles with this idea of self-doubt on some level. And if you don't, congratulations, I want to meet you. You're very rare. But for the rest of us, how do we go from turning this word impossible, to I'm possible? How do we change this self-talk narrative? So I daily reference this TED Talk, which another one of our wonderful speakers talked about tonight, by Dr. Lucy Hone. This is titled The 3 Secrets of Resilient People. She talks about 3 ways that we can be resilient. And based on evolution, that we are actually conditioned to think negatively. And when she talks about it, we were cave people, and we saw a rainbow and we saw a tiger. And it was like, okay, I better recognize that tiger or else it's going to eat me, or I can look at this rainbow, right? So we have to notice the tiger. So the secrets she reveals are life-changing. The first one is resilient people realize that suffering is a part of life, okay? Life isn't fair. Instead of asking why me, it's really got to be, why not me? Stuff happens to everyone. The second thing she says is resilient people choose where to put their attention. As I mentioned, the tiger, right? So we're bombarded by different threats all around us. So what do? We need to choose to tune into the good instead. And the third thing that is life-changing is ask, what am I doing? And what am I thinking? Is it helping me or is it harming me? I try to remind myself and those around me of this all the time. So I hope you can take a little bit of what Dr. Hone says and apply it to your life. Next up, I don't know if you're ready for this, Brene Brown. She is the jam. If you don't know Brene Brown, you have to look her up. She's one of my heroes. And if everyone knows me, I name drop her. I'm hoping maybe I'll get to meet her after doing this. So if you're not familiar with her, look her up. On her Netflix special, she talks about this technique called the story I'm telling myself. So this is now a technique I use in my daily life, along with my personal relationships. After hearing it, I realized that we set ourselves up for failure or disappointment without even opening our eyes or our mouths. When something triggers a strong emotion in our minds, we often create a story about what's going to happen or what happened. And these stories are usually or always one-sided, and they really never contain the truth. So one example that I know almost everyone can relate to is you're having a texting conversation with someone. back and forth, back and forth. And then all of a sudden you see those ... and it goes away, right? And you're like, what the heck? It could be 5 minutes, could be 30 minutes, but what happened? They were going to say something, then they weren't going to say anything. Who can relate to this, right? If you're thinking about this, you're not thinking during this time, oh, they're just, hanging out. It's always, what did I do wrong? I created an issue, right? We come up with these worst possible stories with no explanation. Another personal story from several years back is one night I'm sitting at the dinner table with my mother-in-law, my father-in-law, my husband, and my mother-in-law asks, my husband, can you call me a little more often, right? So the story I tell myself, this is a good one. She wishes he never got married and never had kids so that she could have him all to herself, right? Crazy. As I'm preparing this speech tonight, I realize absolutely how crazy that sounds. A more plausible explanation would be that a mom would like her son to call him every once in a while. And believe me, my husband could call his mom every once in a while. But so often in life, our first reaction is just the most negative one. So my third inspiration, resiliency, is Dr. Edith Eager. She is born to Hungarian Jewish parents, and she is currently a psychologist practicing in the United States. She's a Holocaust survivor, and she specializes in the treatment of post-traumatic stress disorder. In her memoirs, she states that her time in Auschwitz, the concentration camp, was an opportunity. Take that in for a second. In her mind, she is able to make that her time in this concentration camp into a positive. Now that is an extreme example of positive self-talk, and also speaks to how crucial it can be to frame events in our lives in ways that can help us instead of harming us. According to Dr. Eager, we all have mental prisons, and her goal is to help people identify the prisons and develop tools necessary to become free. She states that the foundation of freedom is in the power of choice. She chooses not to be defined by as a victim of Nazi hatred, and she has framed her experience in a positive way to guide and help others. So what else can I add that these wonderful, inspiring women haven't already done? So my first innovative idea is go look all of them up and read all of their books and watch all of their TED Talks. So now what I'll do is I'll take a little bit of each of these women, a little bit of my life experience, and a little bit of research, and remind everyone that you are enough and you have the power to change your perception. So as mentioned, I have a private practice and an adolescent client that I work with who has a physical disability. She really struggles with self-esteem, and just like me and a lot of people that I work with. So I've tried all the recommendations and ideas from these three, heroes and inspiration of mine, and we really didn't get anywhere. So I then moved on to positive affirmations, which is also a proven tool in the research. So it's been suggested by scientists and behavioral care providers that affirmations remind people of important aspects of self, enabling them to view events as reasonable and to see them from a rational viewpoint. So as you see here, there's a list of 50 affirmations. I asked her to repeat them after me. She reacted as if I asked her to run naked around her whole entire school. She did not like this idea, but she appeased me and repeated after me. So if you notice, I have one circled here. When we got down to, I only compare myself to myself, she said, that's conceited. And I wanted to laugh, cry, and scream all at the same time. But I knew I couldn't because I figured I had to, use this as a teaching moment. And so as I often do, I asked her, why do you think that? And she said, because they told me I'm not supposed to talk about myself. So again, I wanted to scream, cry, and laugh, because who are these people and why are we not supposed to talk nicely to ourselves? So instead, I used another technique and I said, if your friend repeated this affirmation, I only compare myself to myself, what would you say? So my client stated, oh, of course, I would be very encouraging and supportive. So I pushed a little bit further. So why can't you be encouraging and supportive to yourself? So she said, again, they told us we are not supposed to talk about ourselves or be nice to ourselves. So again, who are these people? So often we act out of fear of they. What will they think if I do this? What will they think if I wear this? What will they think if I eat this? Most of the time, they couldn't care less because they are not thinking about us nearly as much as we are thinking about ourselves. So just think of all the energy that we are wasting battling this fear of this invisible enemy. So why are we nice to others, but we can't be nice to ourselves? I think we can change that. So how do you do that? You do this exact activity that I was doing with my client, okay? Over and over and over again until you believe it. So we need to break out of these mental prisons and speak kindly to ourselves. And the first step is acknowledging that our mindset, acknowledging what our mind might be doing. Is this reality or is this just a story I'm telling myself? Life is hard and a lot of it is out of our control. Even our first thought is out of our control, but everything that comes after that, that's on us. If my mental prison wants to tell me I can't do this or I'm not smart enough, then I need to say, yes, I am. I need to say, I am enough. My positive thoughts create positive feelings. I need to say this until I believe it. Then when I have another negative thought, because I will, I need to say it again. Now, I don't want you to think that I'm an expert at this and it comes naturally to me. It is a daily and sometimes hourly battle that takes place between my ears, no matter how it looks on the outside. So when I was in college and throughout my 20s, I struggled with an eating disorder. Unfortunately, I am not unique in this regard. Eating disorders impact countless women and men and can sometimes be associated with negative self-talk. Approximately 9% of the US population will battle with an eating disorder in their lifetime. At my lowest point, I swallowed a fork. Yes, a fork. An accident? I think so, but I really can't be sure because that I wasn't trying to hurt myself. As I was recovering in the hospital, I hoped that this was my rock bottom. But the truth is, rock bottom is a moving target if we don't confront the demons that are constantly whispering in our ears, telling us we are not okay. You need to do X, Y, and Z to be happy and loved. Conquering an eating disorder is not about having 3 solid meals a day or not binging and purging. It is about being kind to ourselves and not placing unnecessary, unrealistic expectations. It's about changing the story that we tell ourselves and also not fearing the invisible they. This is my first time admitting this incident to anyone other than my therapist, doctor, or immediate family. But as I tell my clients and my students, we need to grow from our struggles and be proud of what we've overcome. It's certainly not easy putting myself out here in front of my students and colleagues, but I want everyone here to know you can still succeed in life, even with some rocky moments from your past. It's cliche to think that this event doesn't define me, because when I reflect, perhaps it does. It's not something I'll ever forget, and it provides me with a daily reminder to continue the fight. I have no choice but to be resilient. It reminds me daily to be a better therapist, educator, mom, and wife. I do not wish this struggle on anyone, but I know wishing it away won't help. Instead, I need to participate in events like this and tell my story to help others as well as myself. I need to keep studying, supporting, researching, teaching, and try to make a positive impact on society. I need to constantly reaffirm my self-worth, just as I instruct my clients to do. I need to block out those voices, whether on the inside or the outside, that try to bring me down. I was in so much mental pain, just like I see so many people today, but I'm here to tell you that it can get better. During those challenging times, I let negative self-talk control me. I told myself many stories, none of them helpful, most of them untrue. You need to be thinner. You can't eat that. You need to eat, you can't wear that. And, but now I realize that every day, every minute is a new opportunity to start over. We need to tell ourselves better stories. Today, I have to reframe the stories in my head multiple times a day. Usually first thing in the morning when my 3-year-old is crying for me at 5 a.m., my first thought is, why does this happen to me? Life isn't fair. And also, why doesn't she ever call for my husband? I am then reminded of what Dr. Lucy Hone said about resilient people. She said, stuff happens. And instead of why me, why not me? I then usually laugh and realize I'm really lucky to have a daughter that wants to be with me. So what's the takeaway message from all of this? Our minds are powerful, and it can be a prison or a paradise, but that has to be our choice. We have the power over our thoughts and our perceptions and self-talk. So why not use that power for positive? One simple positive affirmation, such as I am enough, everything will be okay, could change our mood and our mindset. Be aware of the stories that you are telling yourselves. So life is not easy, and this process isn't easy, but we're capable of giving a try. What do you have to gain? Everything. Let's try to make this commitment to be kinder to ourselves and each other. Let's remember we have the power over our perceptions. We can't always control our first thought, but we can control the second. And let's turn the word impossible into I'm possible. In closing, the story I'm telling myself is that I am committing career suicide by sharing this deeply personal information with my colleagues and students. But I have taken control of my second thought, and I have pressed forward knowing I'm proud of the struggle, and I'm hoping it can help someone else. Thank you so much, and have a great night.